talk about surveillance, it is not only government that is doing surveillance upon you. Google probably knows more about you than the government will ever know.
How are you all? Hopefully, all of you guys will be healthy at your home during this tough time. Today is your host, Shubham Kumar, and welcome back to Legal Talk Show with Shubham. Today is a very special day for me. Today, I feel very privileged and very honored that you came on Legal Talk Show with Shubham. Today, respected Charu Mathur ma'am is present among us today, and she has been currently practicing in Supreme Court of India. I warm welcoming you, ma'am, that you took out your precious time for us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today.
Thank you, Shubham. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, my first question is for you. Like, I would like to know about your background first. Where are you came from, and where did you complete your education? And what was the time that you should think that you should go ahead and become an advocate?
Right. So, Shubham, I come from Rajasthan. I was born in Jodhpur. I did my schooling in Jodhpur. Then my father was elevated as judge of Gujarat High Court. So we shifted to Gujarat. And from there, I did my BSc from St. Xavier's College, Ahmedabad, my law also from Malaysia Law College. And there I joined the chamber of my senior, Sri S.N. Shalit, who retired as the advocate, who was a former Advocate General of Gujarat, and now he's a practicing senior advocate for so many years. So I come essentially my father, his brothers, my sister, my husband, my brother-in-law, my cousins, and now my son, everyone is pursuing law.
And basically, you are from a law background.
Yeah.
Whose idea do you consider idol in your life?
See, as far as my joining practice was concerned, I was always influenced by my father. He's the single most person who has motivated me to do whatever I want to do. He always thought that there is nothing that is unachievable. Then, of course, my family, we always had this culture of studying and reading and having a lot of debates. Because if you look at my family, we have got people from all the spectrum. There are extreme left wingers, there are extreme right wingers, there are central, and there are atheists. So this is what, so we always had a huge debate about everything and different viewpoints. And apart from that, if you look at from the professional side, my senior, who was always very concise and precise, he said, these are the points, I can succeed you on these points, then it is fine. Otherwise, whatever your lordship would pursue. Apart from that, if you look at outside my family, if I have to look at the people who have influenced my thinking, one person I would definitely say that as a young kid, it was J.S. Verma, who Chief Justice J.S. Verma. He was the one who had filled me that this is one profession which can bring in whatever changes that you desire. He was my ultimate ideal at that point of a time when I was young, at the impressionable age of 10th, 11th, 12th. Thereafter, there are many, and if you talk about the current law, amongst the seniors who are practicing in Delhi, certainly it is Mr. Arvind Datta with his legal acumen, because I am also academically bent. So another aspect is he is academically bent also, he writes a lot. And his arguments, just like my seniors, is very concise, very precise. And then, of course, my mother, she is retired as a professor in political science and international relations. So how she has balanced her large joint family as well as her work, her children, and tried to be top of everything. So these are some of the people I always look forward to. As a law student, Krishna Iyer is someone everybody has always looked for. But at this point of a time, I would just like to remind people of Justice Gajendra Gatkar. He was our Chief Justice of India, and people have forgotten how much contribution that one person has made. He's the one person who had the deep understanding of the religion and the religious thing. You always talk about P.N. Bhagwati, or Justice Y.V. Chandrachud or Justice Krishna Iyer. But I think it is time that we go back and look at the judgments passed by Justice Gajendra Gadkar. And one very thing important is that I am an advocate on record at Supreme Court of India. So it was not until that Justice Gajendra Gadkar was there that advocate on records came into being. Before that, they used to having this colonial practice of having agents. The lawyers who were representing, as we are doing as AORs, they were called agents. So he has brought certain new dimension to the profession. So yeah, that's it.
But ma'am, do you think that a lot of law students came as being as a first generation lawyer? So as you told that your father is an elevate judge of the Gujarat High Court. So do you think that you can get some benefit from your dad side? From your
for the first
family background or dad side, yeah?
Yeah. See, my father, he was technically a first generation lawyer, right? When he came, he started from very scratch. He became the youngest senior advocate in the Rajasthan High Court up to recently. He was a member of Bar Council of Rajasthan, Bar Council of India. In fact, when was NLS Bangalore was set up, he was the first treasurer of NLS. Then apart from that, he has represented, he was a judge in Rajasthan, Gujarat High Court. He was VC in that twice for the National Law University. So it is not unachievable. And when you come with a certain background, so of course you do have an advantage, but certainly you do have an equal amount of disadvantage. There are certain people who will entertain me because I was somebody's daughter and they knew him, right? But there are equally large number of people, he says, that we will not support her, however good she is, because she is that person's daughter. So it is double-edged sword, but ultimately how good or bad you are, that is what it's going to help. And I think it is more of a challenge because you have a certain name to stand up to, right? So people have a predefined notions against you that this person's ideology must be exactly like what her fathers or uncles or whatever person's ideology is. But you have to take every person as an individual because everybody has their own thinking process. Even for the first generation lawyers, it is really not difficult because this is one profession, and I can vouch for Supreme Court that if you are willing to learn, if you are ready to go and ask for help, there are seniors who will go out of their way to help you out. But only condition is you should be hardworking and you should have been a habit of reading and you should assist, right? And there are, I can vouch, like when I started my practice, I could go to somebody. When I took a break because I was, my son was born and I thought it was more important for me to take his care and I again restarted, there were people who were ready to help me. Okay, we will handhold you, right? And so this is one profession, just go and ask for help and it will be available to you. Yeah, next we can move.
Yes, ma'am, but your journey is totally amazing and your thoughts and definitely will be inspired to a lot of young law students who come into legal fraternity field. And ma'am, my third question is for you, like you are practicing in Supreme Court of India and your incomparable contribution in the field of law. So would you like to share some moments with us?
Right. So the first appearance of mine was, I think it was before Justice Rajendra Babu. He was the Chief Justice of India at that point of a time. And the first day my matter was to be dismissed, it was the bail application. And this person has filed the fourth bail application. And the judge very nicely told me a story of the spider who tried to climb the wall and he said, try again until you succeed. So I was very stressed because that was my first maiden appearance before the court. And way he narrated the story, that made very light of me. And he said that everybody does not succeed in all the matters. So that was one. Apart from that, there was this murder trial, death sentence reference, which I had argued. That was a very challenging task to do, to argue the death reference, because See, when you argue these criminal matters, especially the death reference, you have to look at the photographs, right, of the victims, of autopsy, all those things. So that was something very, very challenging that we had to do. Third matter was between a father and a daughter. Daughter had usurped the father's property, and father was willing to give. There was a settlement between the father and daughter before the mediation in the court, but still daughter moved, took back from the word she has given before the court. After a very long, hard-fought battle, I could get relief for the father. So those are some of the memorable things. And if you talk about the recent task, we have done a lot of these neat matters, medical matters. So here, when we were given a chance to serve the doctors, I counted it as a privilege, because just don't undermine how much the doctors have helped us during the COVID times. Forget about the normal times. So I consider myself fortunate enough to be able to help these young doctors in whatever way we could. We succeeded in some and we succeeded in not so many. So these are some of the things that I like to add.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing these beautiful thoughts. And my second last question is for you. Like, do you think that while government seeking privacy through the technologies of our India, and you can also say that upcoming technologies of our India, so what about the role of Article 21 right to privacy?
See, Article 21 right to privacy is a very important piece after Kutaswamy judgment. It is. But when we talk about surveillance, it is not only government that is doing surveillance upon you. Google probably knows more about you than the government will ever know. Or even you yourself will be aware, oh, I did such and such thing in 2014 when I had made my Gmail account. So even if you're talking in the context of current criminal amendment bill, where they are saying that they will take various fingerprints, footprints, iris, and all those things of the person who is convicted. See, we need to realize that the crime that is being perpetuated in our society right now, it is very sophisticated, and the prosecution has to keep in touch with the times that the crime is happening. Only a fingerprint won't do, right? There are privacy issues, there are problems, but all these measures are very important. Like your facial recognition is there, they have put cameras everywhere. There will be certain misuse, there will be a certain misuse even by the governments, but if it is for the larger good, then probably we need to give in to some of our privacy issues.
Okay, got it, ma'am. There are a lot of law students who are preparing for the competition exam, like who want to go into corporate field as well as government sector. So do you have any general tips for them?
See, whatever you do, you work very hard, you study and you study well. See, there are two types of studies when we do. One, we do it to pass the exams and get certain amount of numbers. And second, we do is for our understanding. If your goal is, see, you need to have both types of goal. You need to have your learning also, but at the end of the day, you remember that you have got only 3 hours to write 5 answers, right? So you cannot just keep your entire focus on one question and then don't attempt the others. So you have to balance. There has to be study done from the point of view of examination. Then there has to be study done from point of view of your knowledge. But reading is compulsory. As a lawyer, you are bound to read, right? And you should develop this habit of reading. And I was reading somewhere, I like that tip, so I'd like to share. They said that when we try to read and understand, we read very slowly to understand what is it. But while doing so, our mind wanders. It started thinking about 10 different things. So this person gave a tip that when you are reading, try to read little fast so that your mind remains focused. So that is one aspect. And for your students for writing competitive exams or your college exams, my suggestion is that they should be in a habit of writing the paper. So attempt your past papers, time yourself, and rest it is fine. And for the corporate jobs who are going, they need to be updated with the latest in law. So you should try and read your SCCs. Now there is so much information available on the net. Try to go to Live Law, try to go to Bar and Bench, try to go to SCC blog. Then there are various platforms which are giving you this legal education. I am associated with one of them, that is EBC Learning is there. So there are short courses there are short talks there. So these are some of the things that you should work to upskill yourself. And knowledge is not you said that it is not something like a stagnant, right? It has to be updated constantly. It has to be churned out what is obsolete, and try to find out if there is one niche you can